Now from Atlanta News First Plus, this is Sports Tonight.
Hello and welcome into ANF Sports Tonight. I am Ellie Parker here with Connor Hines. Connor,
Hey,
it has been a minute.
It has
since we've done
back on the digital desk together, Ellie. I mean, my struggles doing this show solo are well documented. So
you do fine.
We're glad to have you back. We're glad to have you back, Ellie. That's all I gotta
do fine. You give yourself some credit. I know I'm the one to talk here, but give yourself some credit every once in a while.
A lot of buttons, a lot of switches over there, guys.
A lot of buttons, a lot of switches. We're all handling it fine.
We got a lot to talk about.
Got a lot to talk about. Got a massive interview with two-time Paralympian Gia Pergolini that I did. It's me on the other line for once.
Sports reporter Ellie Parker. Checking in for duty.
Got the opportunity to talk to Gia after her experiences in Paris. Gold medalist in the 1,500-meter backstroke. Silver medalist in the 50-meter freestyle. So it's a pretty long one, so let's just get right into it. Two-time Olympic gold medalist, Gia Pergolini, how did winner of the 4x100?
The 100 backstroke is where I got gold, and then the 50 freestyles where I got silver.
So explain to me how that felt, getting the gold medal after the race.
Oh my gosh. It was just such a special moment. Paris was so amazing. I had the crowd and I had my family there to support me. So when I touched the wall and knowing that my family was there made the moment so special and so memorable for me, because in Tokyo, it was weird times. It was COVID time. So I didn't get to have my family there, only my mom. And even though I love my mom, having my whole family there is really, really special, and representing this great country and winning its first gold medal for the Paris Paralympic Games. It was a little bit sweeter than Tokyo.
So explain to me your disability and what that means for the classification you were in, what that even means, and who you were competing against.
Yes. So in Paralympics for swimming, there's 14 classification levels per se. It goes from S1 to S14. S1 to S10 is all physical body disability. So 1 is technically the most disabled, as S10 is the least disabled. And then S11 through S13 is all the visual impairment categories, because being visually impaired is such a wide range of your vision acuity and how much you can and cannot see. So the best way I can explain this without being super scientific is that S11 is fully blind. They have to wear blackout goggles when they compete and use tappers to know when they're close to the wall. And then S12 is mostly blind, but they can still see a little bit, and most of them use tappers as well. And then S13, that's the classification that I am in, has the most vision acuity out of all the visual impairment classifications. I am legally blind, so I still do really have poor vision, but out of all of them, I have the best vision, and only a few of us use tappers. Most of us are fortunate to see the flags in the wall and don't need a tapper. But yes, and then S14 is people with autism. So you only race against your own classification. So I only race against S13. Sometimes there are events where it's a little tricky because they can combine. So I can be swimming only against S12s when we do the combination. So for the 50 free, for instance, the girl that beat me was in S12, but I was the fastest girl for the S13s. If that makes sense. But she got the gold because we combined. So you will never see an S12 compete against like an S7. It's usually we stick to our same class and that's how we compete. But there are some rules where they could combine certain classifications for certain events.
So explain your specific disability and how it affects your body and how it affects your day-to-day life, what you can and can't do and that sort of thing.
Yeah, so I have a genetic eye disease called Stargardt's disease, which only allows me to see peripherally. So I have a blind spot in both my eyes. I kind of, so I was born with it. I don't know any better. When people were first introducing me to it, I was like, there's nothing wrong with me. You guys are crazy. Which there isn't nothing wrong with me. You're beautiful in your own way. But yeah, so growing up, it was really difficult trying to accept that I do have a disability. I can't do certain things that other people can do, like drive. I cannot drive, unfortunately.
Same here.
Or fortunately, maybe.
Maybe.
You never know. But yeah, that other than that of like not driving, and sometimes when I'm in a classroom, I can't see the board and it's really hard to follow along if the professor's talking really, really fast. I kind of adapted to it. I don't let it define who I am as a person or let it indicate how I'm going to live my life. And I think that's what the Paralympic movement is all about, of just showing our disability and showing people that it's not going to define us and that we can compete as professional athletes at a huge level, even though we have an obstacle in our life that we're overcoming, whether it's your visual impairment or your physical impairment. But yeah, it's been honestly, it's been a ride. I mean, yeah. People always ask me if I would take it back. I think I asked that like 2 days ago, if I was able to take my vision back and be able to have like perfect vision and be able to drive, would you? And I said no, because it does make me the person I am today. It has made me a stronger person, and I wouldn't be successful as I am now without it. So
yeah, and I totally get that as somebody with a congenital disability themselves. Like, can you even fathom having perfect vision? Like, you were born with this. You're like,
yeah. I really cannot register how people see. I ask people, I'm like, how can you see that?
I do it too, because my disability affects my right arm.
Oh yeah.
Like, I can't use my right hand. So I ask people, like, what is it like having two hands? Because
yeah.
I can't wrap my head around the idea.
I know, I really cannot. Like, when people can read across a room and see the board or see what the time is on the clock on the wall, I'm like, what is that like? Like, how can you see that?
See, I get that.
Oh my magic God. Or witchery. I'm like, what did you do? I'm like, but I'm like, oh, okay.
And you mentioned school, and that gets me thinking, like, what accommodations do visually impaired Paralympians get at the games?
Oh my gosh. So I told my academic advisor in April, I'm like, I'm going to be honest with you. I am not going to be paying attention to any schoolwork. And I'm just going to be strictly focused in Paris. And then my family's planning on traveling Europe after Paris. And I can assure you, I will not be paying attention to any schoolwork at that time either.
You get to go with them?
Yeah.
That's great.
After Paris, yeah, I was my first time like really traveling after a big competition. So it was really nice, because when you're competing, you stay in the village or you stay in the hotel and then you go to the venue. You don't really see that much in between, but especially during COVID times, like it was strict lockdown, you couldn't really explore anything. But in Paris, they were a lot more relaxed, and we got to explore a lot more of Paris. And afterwards, I was able to sign out um, and go to Italy and Nice with my family. And that was a really special moment because I love traveling and I love Europe and I love the rich history. So yeah, that was really it was really nice.
You talk about, being in Tokyo versus being in Paris. And those were two completely different games because, as you mentioned, Tokyo was affected by COVID.
Yes.
What were the differences between those two experiences in those two cities?
I wasn't getting my nose violated every single day. I in Tokyo, I sneeze a lot
Oh yeah.
when they do the COVID test. So every morning they would do it, the swab, and I would be dying. But other than that, it's just everything was different. I mean, Tokyo was still a lovely games. They hosted it very well considering the obstacles they had to overcome. But it was weird. I couldn't have my family there, only my mom, and there was no crowd. And especially being at my first Paralympic Games, like you're expecting what Rio was kind of right before, and like wanted to experience that, and then going to Tokyo, not being able to experience that, still being grateful that there was even a games. Um, but it was just weird times. But then in Paris, it really showed me what a games is supposed to be like and really signified why I do what I do and why I train so hard and so much. Because I can walk out and just see how much the Paralympic movement has grown. Going to the Team USA house and doing a bunch of social media. I'm not gonna lie, I like the attention. So seeing the crowds when I walked out, it was a sold out crowd. And I even talked to one of the workers working the event, and she even said, this is the same atmosphere as what the Olympians got. Like it's the same exact thing. And being a Paralympian and being in this movement and organization for so long, seeing how much it's grown is just so special. And hearing that we got the same atmosphere as the Olympians. I mean, I know that's what every Paralympian wants, is just to keep the movement growing and get more and more equality between Olympics and Paralympics. And I really think Paris did a phenomenal job with that.
Yeah, and if you're watching this and if you've never been to the Olympics, I was fortunate to go to London in 2012, and the atmosphere at the Team USA house was insane. It was like a huge party. So
Yeah.
I'm super glad to hear that the Paralympians got that same vibe.
Yeah, it was great. And this was the first year that the Paralympians got a Team USA house. So being a part of that was amazing. And I loved every second of it. And my family got to go. And after you win a medal, you can present an ECOS award. And so I did that with my mom for my gold medal, and then my dad for my silver. He's still a little salty about that. He gets the medal, but it was so fun. It was a really fun experience. And yeah, it is like a party. It was so cool.
So this might sound like a pretty dumb question. Why swimming?
Oh, I asked myself the same question. Oh my gosh, I don't get me wrong, I love swimming to an extent. But yeah, it's a hard sport. It's very mentally tough, like every sport at the level that I'm competing at. It takes a toll on you for sure. Why swimming? I loved the water so much when I was younger. I would honestly put my life at risk sometimes by like
God.
just jumping in the water without my floaties. And my mom was like, okay, we should probably put this girl in lessons before she drowns herself. Also, I grew up with like two older brothers, and their friends would like rough house with me and play with me. Like they're much older. They were in like high school by the time I was 2. And so they would just like throw me around in the water and just yeah, they were just some rowdy guys. And so my mom was like, okay, before she just drowns, let's get this girl in swimming lessons. And then I started in summer league, just like little kid stuff, and then people recognized, oh, she's actually not that bad. Maybe she should like try some year-round swimming. I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And by that time I was doing like 7 different sports, and I was like, yeah, I'll do year-round swimming. And so started year-round swimming. I recognized that this was the sport out of all the sports I was doing that I was pretty elite in. So I just stuck with swimming. Fun fact, I was choosing between tennis and swimming.
I played tennis in high school.
Okay. So that's people were like, okay, so she could see the tennis ball. What is wrong? Like, but she can't see the board. And it was a lot better. My vision was a lot better when I was younger to be able to play lacrosse and tennis. Right now, if you throw a tennis ball at me, I would completely miss it, because it progressively got a little bit worse, but stable now, my vision. But I was choosing between swimming and tennis, and my mom's a tennis mom. She got me all these cute little tennis outfits and a little tennis racket, all this stuff. So excited for me to start tennis. And I was like, you know what? I think I want to go back to swimming. She's like, are you kidding me? and so I stuck with swimming, even though looking back, I'm like, gee, you should have done it for the outfits. I love the cute little tennis outfits, but all jokes aside, I'm glad I chose swimming, because obviously I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you if I didn't do swimming. So, yeah.
Okay, this is going to sound like a truly dumb question.
No,
I cannot swim.
Okay.
Because I can't even float. I sink like a rock. How do you float in the water?
Sometimes I drown. If you see me on some practices, you'll be like, this girl is like, she's a fake. She can't swim. She's drowning right now. I honestly I don't think I float. Even it's hard to float, to be honest. Like when I'm laying back in the water, I sink as well. I think just keeping my kick going and my arms flailing, I somehow make it to the other side pretty fast. So I think that's the best way to explain how I could do it, because I can't float either. Like some of my friends are like, it's hard to float.
It is hard.
Yeah. I'm like, I have to like relax or like breathe out all my air or something like that. I don't even know, to keep my hips up. But yeah, just keep my kick going, hips up and flailing my arms, and it turns out great somehow. So yeah, that's how I do it.
So I do have to ask, LA 28?
Okay, so yes, I am going to take it year by year. It's 4 years from now. Still getting off the high of the Paris Games. I just got back from Washington, D.C. this morning, actually, with the whole Team USA, went to the White House and got
That's awesome.
The president. So just right off the high of that, and everyone's asking that question, LA 2028, to every athlete, and most athletes are saying, let's take it year by year. Yeah. And if we're healthy in 2 years and we're able to train, absolutely. I'm going to take a little bit of a break from swimming and focus on me and give my body the rest it deserves.
Yeah, definitely.
And then get back into it. I do really want to go to LA. I think Paris really signified. And this past weekend was really fun, and being able to hang out with all the Olympians and Paralympians and recognize that this is a phenomenal group of athletes. Celebrating this amazing win and meeting people and the connections you meet. I really want to continue that. I'm not ready to give that up yet.
Yeah.
So I think I'm 95% sure I want to go to LA, and I'm going to go to LA, hopefully.
Thank you so much for talking to me. This has been super fun. Gia Pergolini,
Having me.
2-time
Yeah.
Paralympic gold medalist. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Amazing questions. No dumb questions.
That was honestly so fun. It was one of those things that honestly, reminded me why I'm a journalist. I think that being able to talk to somebody like Gia, and being a disabled person myself, and just being able to relate to her and being able to, help people understand what people with disabilities go through and how we operate in the world.
Yeah.
I think that's just super important. It was just fun. It was fun to get.
No doubt.
To
Good on you,
talk to
Ellie.
her.
That was a great pickup. I mean, not everyone can go pick up and interview a gold medalist. So great pickup on your part. Well done. We know what
From
that sigh means.
Ellie did a good thing to Ellie was so brutally wrong. I swore up and down with Emily. I swore up and down that this shouldn't even be a conversation. And like a week and a half later, the Dream have fired head coach Tanisha Wright.
Yeah, after 3 seasons. It's a bummer on a lot of levels because, I mean, you look at the direction that this program has been going in. Net positive, but not positive enough for the front office.
And this is a team that dealt with a lot of injuries this year. He dealt with injuries to Aerial Powers, Ryan Howard, Cheyenne Parker-Tyus, all throughout the season, and just it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough.
And at the end of the day, whenever a front office decides to part ways with its head coach, like the Dream have with Tanisha Wright, it's not indicative of just this past season, right? It's the last 3 seasons, in fact, that Tanisha Wright has been with the Dream. 48 and 68 in those 3 years. The Dream actually made the playoffs in 2 of those 3 seasons. Both
got bounced in the first round
exits
in both of those seasons.
Look, there's a lot of good to take away from this. I hate it because of the person that Tanisha Wright is, and the, if nothing else, just the vibes around the Dream were good with Tanisha Wright. I mean, this was a lot of positive momentum, right, under her. Just not enough for the front office, and sports is a result-oriented business. She tweeted or posted on X recently, as I try to pull it up, essentially just thanking the Dream for the time, and said, hey, look, this is a season of change for me. And I think what she made note of was that this was about laying the groundwork, and the progress made by this team under Tanisha Wright. You can't overlook that as well, because it's a completely different team than it was just a few years ago.
Yeah, and now it turns to, who do you pick up? Do you go with Teresa Witherspoon, who just got fired by the Chicago Sky? Do you go with Kurt Miller, who just got fired by the Los Angeles Sparks? Do you try to bring up somebody from the college ranks? Do you go with a completely out-of-the-box pick, like, pushing Tina Charles into the coach's box? We'll see.
Yeah.
This is going to be an interesting coaching search.
A lot of different directions you could go with this. So,
all right,
time will tell.
Resident San Diego Padres correspondent.
Hey, look, I'm an unbiased journalist on this front, right? We're going to talk about the Braves just like we talk about the Padres. As the San Diego guy in the room, yes, they are my team. But I think if nothing else, coming up tonight, Game 2 of the Wild Card, 8:30, just after 8:30. If nothing else, we're going to see a much better game tonight in San Diego than we saw last night. Namely because one, Max Fried is pitching on the getting the start for the Braves. That's just a completely different dynamic than the hand of cards that the Braves were dealt last night, starting A.J. Smith-Shawver, virtually no postseason experience. No, he did have postseason experience. Did he have postseason experience?
A little bit, but not.
Well, yeah.
And also, Michael King just went
Yes.
off. 7 innings, 12 strikeouts. How do you can't.
There
just can't
There
come
comes a
back from
time
that.
where when
You
you're
got to tip your cap and say, okay.
when
get
you're
the
getting
ball.
Braves hitters to swing at pitches that are 2 feet off the plate, you're doing something pretty good. Michael King just had a really good night last night in the first game of the wild card series for the Padres. San Diego's got Joe Musgrove going tonight. It's going to be a great game. I expect it to be a great game with 2 great teams going at it, and just cannot state enough, if the Braves season does end tonight, how incredible and just miraculous
They've
it is
pushed
that
through a lot.
to even get into the
Even
playoffs
get here,
is
yeah.
an accomplishment. And look, they know it. They know what they're up against. I mean, the injuries, the travel, having to play the doubleheader on Monday and then turn around the next day and
I
start
was
this wild
there.
card
It
series.
was wonderful. That first game was insane.
It was. It's going to be fun either way.
Let's talk about the rest of the MLB wildcard round. The Detroit Tigers have vanquished the evil
How
of the
about it?
Houston Astros.
How about it? A lot
Andy
of
Ibanez, you legend.
not too many Astros fans around here in Atlanta, so I love that.
I am
people get to see
extremely
that.
partial towards the Detroit Tigers right now because their play-by-play announcer on TV, Jason Benetti, is one of my favorite announcers. And he also has cerebral palsy, so he's a bit of an inspiration of mine.
He's great. The Tigers are a great story right now.
Yes.
And this is what the playoffs are all about. You always have one team that you don't necessarily expect to make it through that first wild
They had
card
like
round
a
of the division.
0.5% chance of making the playoffs on August 10th. They were 10 games under 500.
You got their record. What's their
here
record?
they are. They
10
were,
games under 500
were
in
10
August.
and they pulled it off. 86 and 76. Had to have some cards fall their way for the third place in the AL Central.
And this is also a year in the MLB postseason where a team with 86 wins just could get into the playoffs.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's
This has been a
partially
wild
the Tigers
season.
being good and heating up at the right time. It's partially the rest of the league letting them in. Either way, it's really cool to see what they've been able to do here in the wild card.
And we've got the Royals and Orioles underway right now, 2-1. Kansas City. We've got the Mets and Brewers later tonight, and obviously the Braves and Padres at 8:30. Let's finish it off. What's on your mind?
Well, tonight's game is on my mind between the Braves and Padres. But besides that, I would say that this is a huge, huge opportunity tomorrow night for the Atlanta Falcons to immediately establish themselves as the favorite to win this division. Squeaked one out on Sunday against the Saints. Maybe a game you shouldn't have won.
But hey, they won it.
They won it, and let me tell you right now, this is a game, as Justin Simmons told Bailey Burmaster today when she was out there at Flowery Branch, this is not a need to, a get to. This is just a game we have to win.
Yeah.
And that's the mindset for the Falcons right now, and it should be for a team that has aspirations of not only winning the division, but maybe making a playoff run with this revamped roster. Huge opportunity for the Falcons, and I feel like each week we're saying, we're going to see what this team is made of. We're going to see what this team is made of. I think we're getting closer to seeing that, Ellie.
Yeah.
But I think tomorrow's an opportunity where you can really make a statement, if you will, against the Buccaneers.
Real quick, what's on my mind? A different Braves topic. Today, the bankruptcy proceedings for Bally Sports continued, and they are ditching 10 of their baseball teams, leaving them with just one, the Braves. So we will see how that goes and see where the Braves will end up on TV in 2025.
Yeah, going to be interesting. You'll be able to watch them somewhere.
You'll be able to watch them somewhere. Who knows where at this point.
Got an off season to figure that out.
Got an off season to figure it out. Thank you so much. For Connor Hines, I am Ellie Parker. This has been ANF Sports Tonight. Go watch some sports.